Have you heard of a gentleman named Hugo Voeten?
Never heard about.
No, never heard. And would you believe that he collected art from Bulgaria?
Art from Bulgaria. I never heard about.
Is it easy? Can anyone become an art collector?
Of course, because a lot of people think, who collects Bulgarian art in Belgium? And he's not a Bulgarian person, so it's very, very weird. It's very simple. Art Center Hugo Voeten. He was, in that sense, I think very dedicated to his goal, his mission of collecting. And it was a very personal connection and a connection he made to the art pieces. So his name was really in the name of the Art Center Hugo Voeten. We also have a sculpture park that's Beeldentuin Hugo Voeten. It was because of his mother. She was a real lover of antique and nice, small, decorative pieces. She went to auction houses, the historical auction houses we know in Antwerp, for example. And there he got a sense of beauty and a sense of collecting. And afterwards, in the 70s, the 80s, he just started his own collection.
What was the connection to Bulgaria? How was he introduced to Bulgaria?
He had two passions. So one passion was art collecting, but the other passion was hunting. He went to Eastern Europe and to Bulgaria for hunting. So that was very exciting, and that was very, very unique, of course, because of the deep European forests and the nature and all the fauna and flora. And he went for hunting, and of course he had a lot of time to visit the artists and the artist studios, and that's actually how we have a sub-collection that is mainly dedicated to Bulgarian art.
Was there a friend who took him hunting on a hunting trip for the first?
Yes, he had a couple of hunting friends, yes.
But were they Belgian or?
They were Belgian, and they did hunting trips all over the world, yes. But also Bulgaria, East. He started with modern art. Modern art like Frans Mazereel, Permeke, mainly well-known artists here, I think within our country. And then he made that kind of mind shift. It's perhaps interesting to also collect international contemporary art. Why? These artists are still alive. They are represented in the art fairs. You can visit their studios. You can talk to their gallerists. So it's a more dynamic way of acquiring those pieces compared to the modern art, of course, because a lot of artists passed away already. And then there was the third sub-collection, of course, modern, international, the Bulgarian art, due to the other passion, the hunting passion. Yes.
What was his reputation? Like, how would people have described him? Was he gregarious? Was he shy?
He was very silent person. He was very introvert as well, but a very strong person with huge personality. He could fill the space. He was very present, but not with talking, just being there. He had a very clear vision. I think mainly on business. Business-wise, he was a very strong manager, very strong CEO, but related to the art, he was very intimate, very silent. He could sit on a chair in an artist studio, look at a piece, be silent for 10, 15, 20 minutes, And then he stood up. Okay, I buy that. That was his way of collecting. So he connected with the pieces, and he had that kind of belly intuitive feeling, and that was his way of collecting. That makes our collection so eclectic, because it's extremely diverse. Many styles, many disciplines are represented.
Perhaps even reflective of his moods and what was going on in his life. Did he take some suggestions from, it's interesting who the connection was in Bulgaria. Was it a group of artists? Was it?
In the very beginning, he met Svetlin Rusev. And it was thanks to Svetlin Rusev and his network that he entered the scene that was a little bit around Svetlin Rusev, I think. So he met Pavel Koichev, Emil Popov, Krum Damianov, Pamukchev, all those people. But I think the central figure was definitely Svetlin Rusev.
Is it well known, Svetlin Rusev's reputation, or do you have any sense of whether people understood this kind of a controversial character, or?
Here, of course, people don't know. Our visitors and the audience we have here, they don't have the context. They don't know. We have some ideas, of course, but we are not Bulgarian. We are taking care, of course, for the entire collection here, modern, international, Bulgarian art. And of course, we are not into that art history and into that culture as Bulgarian people would be. He was a private collector with a passion, as I told you before, for collecting, of course. And he hadn't the intention in the beginning to share it with the audience. But after he sold his supermarket chain, he was dealing with the idea, the people here in the region, they gave me a lot. Perhaps I need to give something back as from now. So my supermarket chain is not there anymore. Cash Fresh did stop. So now I have time to focus on my art collection. Let's find a place to display. Let's find a place to share. And in the beginning it was even a little bit like, the art center, perhaps it's a private place for me, for my own, to spend time, to enjoy. But then gradually he shifted his mind and he thought, okay, let people come in, they gave me so much, so let's give them something back and let them enjoy art, let's share, yes. It was mainly post-communists, yes. 90s, just before the millennium.
Okay, so it actually started right after the fall. Okay. Yeah, that was a time where everything opened up. Yeah. And it was like the wild, wild east.
Yes, and I think it was a very special atmosphere he encountered because the artist had artistic freedom at that time. But on the other side, there was not a lot of an art market. There was not a lot of opportunities for them. Their minds were now wild, and they could present wild ideas, new ideas, discover many styles. Before it was probably a little difficult. And of course, a collector like Hugo Voeten that offered possibilities and really purchased and ordered art pieces, that was amazing. Many times he noticed in the artist studios small sculptures and he liked them very, very much. Small sculptures, bronze, wood, etc. And then he was thinking, I like it, but it's too small. I like it bigger. And then he ordered a bigger version. He told the artist, please enlarge. I come back again. I come hunting 3-4 months from now. I come back to you and I will check. So please prepare something. And then the artist enlarged, and when he agreed, he told them, okay, so make it in bronze now, so cast it in bronze, and please bring it to my sculpture garden. So here is the money, so this is your assignment, so please make it for me. And I think that's very influential, of course, because it also helps the evolution in an artist path, of course, and it also is challenging, I think, for artists, especially in the 90s. Yeah, it was very challenging, I think.
Definitely. And how were the prices determined? Because I know that here in Western Europe, there's a certain standard of living with a certain kind of income, and then, you know, in Eastern Europe it was a little bit different. Was that calibrated or?
Negotiating, yeah. Yeah, negotiating. And he was also a kind of person, Hugo Voeten, that was really involved in the personal lives of artists and their families and people. So these stories we know as well.
And how did you get involved?
So after Hugo Voeten passed away, that was 2017, it was very hard for the family to find a way around the collection, how to deal with it, how to manage, etc. So they were reflecting 2018, okay, how should we proceed from now and from here? And as from 2019, I started to help them with collection management, and they asked me. So they asked me, can you help us? And I did.
It has a really nice flow, and I guess if, you know, that was your hand in it, it really is kind of inviting for and intuitive. Do you have any favorites?
That's a very, very, very difficult question. Do I have favorites? I think the strength of this collection is in the diversity. And it's not fair to say this one or that one is my favorite. I think when you see it as a whole and you experience this as a whole, that you need to say, it's beautiful like that. It's an entity, it's complete and it's full like this. That's also the reason why we don't collect anymore. So the collection Hugo Voeten was Hugo Voeten's collection, and it's so hard to continue or to purchase another work. It's almost impossible because he had that very special sense of collecting that was his own. And we cannot equal that.
Replicate.
Yeah.
When people come to visit, do you have a sense of their reactions to different pieces? And can you share a couple of examples of, when they've seen this one, they say this, or?
Yeah, they're always very amazed when they see the building, of course. They are very impressed by the artworks that are permanently installed. For example, Pamukchev, the slings in the atrium. That's like, what's that? Wow, such a beautiful story, tradition that comes into the piece. The very subtle and delicate look of it. But I think the strongest impression our visitors share with us, that's also the empathy, the entire feeling, the whole, the complete experience. It's heritage, it's architecture, it's the collection, it's the sub-collections, the modern, contemporary, the Bulgarian art. And they often ask us, why Bulgarian art? Of course, we explain passion, art, the other passion, hunting, and we explain them how it's intertwined and how it's connected. And then they say, interesting, unique. Huh? I would never think I would like Bulgarian art. Never have thought that I would experience here Bulgarian art. Perhaps I thought Bulgarian art is not nice, but now when I visited the art center, I'm really impressed. So we have many positive feedbacks, positive reviews, and people that are very happy when they leave our art center, and that's nice.
It's almost like they're making a discovery, just as he did.
Yeah, right. And in our art center, that's also very important, I think. We don't have the labels, we don't have names, we don't have titles, so people can yeah, they can read little leaflet, of course, but we like to interact. So we have guides on the floors, and those guides, they explain and they get in touch with the visitors, and people like that very much. It's a very unique experience, of course. It's a very personal experience, and it's also, I think, very characteristic for our region. The Campine region is known as a very warm region, a very easygoing region, a very strong region as well, with a lot of people that are like Hugo Voeten, the self-made businessman. And yeah, people feel that warm welcome idea. Our region is very known for nature, cycling, hiking, walking, etc. There's not too much culture and art in the Campine region, but this is for them like being in London or Berlin. Anywhere in a big city, you don't expect that here. And that contributes to that very special dialogue, I think, that we like to establish between our collection and the visitors.
Yes, and the idea about what role sort of geography and borders and where a piece of art comes from, or who the artist is. We're curious whether there's perhaps a sort of inner, I don't know what the right word is, I don't want to say prejudice, but if you hear a certain name, maybe you associate, if it's a name with ova or ov, you associate a certain kind of work. And here, without having any of the tags, are people surprised, like you said, oh, this is by a Romanian or by a Bulgarian?
Yes. They are surprised when we explain and when we tell them, but they more go into the feeling Hugo Voeten had as a collector. I like a piece or I don't like a piece, without the tag, without the label, because a lot of people, they first read tags and they first read labels and they first read in exhibition halls the introductory text, etc. But here we don't have it. Just enjoy art. We are here. The art brings us together. That's the idea. And okay, afterwards we can talk. Afterwards we can share more information if you need it. But if you just don't need it and just look around, that's also very okay. It's like 1/3. 1/3 Bulgarian art, 1/3 international contemporary art, and the rest is modern art, yes. It's well distributed, yes.
Some of the people were actually born at the breaking point between, communism and democracy. The other thing that we, all of us as women, like to see more female artists. So at that time, maybe there weren't as many for him to collect.
And of course, it's very unfortunately for me as well that we don't have a lot of women artists in our collection, but it's probably, I'm not sure, but it's probably very the case that it was a male-dominated art scene after the fall of communism. And the exposure those artists had, it was dominated by the male scene and not by the female. Yeah.
And who would you say cares about Bulgarian art?
That's a good question. I actually don't know. We care, of course, because it's in our collection, and we care as much for a modern piece as for an international piece or a Bulgarian piece, of course. We treat all our pieces equally, democratically. Who cares for it? Yeah, it's a little bit bizarre that we have Bulgarian art in Belgium, of course. But I told you the story, the passion of Hugo, the hunting that brought him to the art, etc., etc. And now it's just here. It's weird, of course, because a lot of people think, who collects Bulgarian art in Belgium? And he's not a Bulgarian person, so it's very, very weird. Also, other collectors, often think, strange, because collectors nowadays, they have a focus. And here it's so eclectic and so diverse, but the Bulgarian sub-collection is omnipresent.
And are there any people that come from other places specifically to come and see this?
Yeah. But the angle is often the building, the historical value of the building, of course. The idea that it's so big and we really don't know what's in. Art. Okay, yes. We also take the art with the building. And we also have the same impression in our sculpture park.
We're interested to know, in your opinion, what do you think needs to happen? How do we introduce the world to Bulgarian art?
I think it's important to take care. It's so unique what Hugo Voeten has established in his collection. So what I think is important is that we keep in touch, of course, and that we care. We care for this, and when time will move on and perhaps next century, next decades, whatsoever, I think that people gradually will value more and more what we have here. It's of course, it's a shot, it's a time frame that is presented here. It's not the entire Bulgarian art history, but I think it gives a very, very, very good impression of what happened right after the fall of communism. And I think that's important, that we take care, that we share, and that we, this way, perhaps silently, are kind of a gatekeeper. We keep it well, and one moment, one time, things will become clear and we will connect it to other pieces that will encounter us, I think.
It's definitely a snapshot in time, a slice of time. How are you bridging the gap with now current, because you do have some current acquisitions of young contemporary artists. How is that? Who is driving that, and what is the plan for it moving forward?
I think it's important to see now how we can go back in time to restore a little bit, to have that feeling of flashback. Okay, we are now. Okay, what's the situation now with, for example, the Bulgarian artist? And how does this relate to the 90s and the millennium, for example? Because, more and more people like Svetlin Rusev, they pass away. Okay, Pamukchev, Popov, etc. They are growing older. They are still there. But we don't know very much about them, internationally speaking. I suppose in Bulgaria people know, but here we don't know a lot, and we don't know how their art and their evolution over time is influencing the generation nowadays. And I think that's important, to start now and to look back and then check with our collection, okay, what's in there and what do we see, which tendencies, which movements perhaps, which evolutions do we see, and how can we reconstruct the entire story.
Tell us about this room that we're sitting in.
Here we are in the crystal room, of course, when we ask our Belgian visitors, do you know a Bulgarian artist? They all say, Christo, we know Christo. He's very famous in our country. People really love what he did. And when he passed away last year, we immediately installed a small room dedicated to Christo, of course. It's the first room people right now see when they visit us. And I think it's a nice opener. And from there we can easily introduce our international contemporary art, the Bulgarian art, the two main sub-collections we have in collection Hugo Voeten. I think it's very nice that he is, or he was at the intersection of the Bulgarian and the international contemporary art scene. Yeah. He didn't allow actually that gallerists or other people, consultants, etc., would tell him what to buy. He was really like, I don't care. I buy it because I like it. Yeah. Je m'en fous idea. I really don't care what other people say. I do it and I move forward. Yeah. And that's something I sense very, very strongly in his collection as well.